All right, guys, this is your boy like one half Enduro. I'm trying to get back into my usual schedule, making videos and stuff like that. It's gonna be slow. It's not gonna be the pace I had before. Something happened. The thing that happened in February that basically messed up a lot of stuff, and I gotta do certain things a certain way. So just getting a heads up for that, just to be very transformative and present to everybody. But I'm gonna try to do something just to keep the lights on in the house of Enduro. So we're gonna do that. And oh dang, I think my boss left that there. Give me a second. All right, so I am not gonna do too much of that. Like I said, I am gonna still do my videos. I'm gonna do what I normally do. I'm gonna try to do a little bit more like retrospective, just thinking and positively more than negativity. I'll try. I'm not saying that, and I want to go that route. But there's some videos that I'm gonna do. It's going to be is what it is. Okay. So hope you guys are down with this one. Is not a negative video per se. This is a positive video per se, and that's what I want to do. So I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm trying to move into more positive or neutral. Where it's like, okay, you can see people wrong and stuff, I correct whatever, but it's a reaction to that. So let's get into it because he says Nintendo Switch 2, the art of gaming in your 30s. Now I'm in my 40s, so I can't say nothing to that. But different ages of gaming have changed. You know what age you are, and I can tell you right now. I will tell you right now. For me, and you guys tell me in the comment section yourself because I can't. I'm trying to remember myself as well. But some of you guys are maybe 10 years younger than me, or maybe 20 years younger than me. But for those who grew up in the 90s babies like me, I'm gonna say this. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think kid in my 90s, I was in my teenage years, right? Do you think teenagers now got it better than what we had back in the 90s? I don't think so. I really don't. I might do a video about that. I I don't think so. I think that if I have to be one thing I could say that I was born in the 80s, but I lived through the 90s. 90s were the best era to be in. It was none other. It had its own crap, of course, but man, were things good when it comes to entertainment and you wasn't worried and stuff. Of course, I'm a kid, so I didn't have to worry about bills and stuff like my mom and dad. I was a child, but yeah, teenager, just doing stuff like that. I had to work as a teenager, but I'm just saying, just it was just a different living altogether. But just tell me for yourself, is it was that if you think teenagers today have it better than how teenagers had it back in the 90s, just let me know in the comments. All right, let's go in the video.
Okay, so the Nintendo Switch 2 has actually been out for quite some time now, but
Yep.
I want to talk about it again because it's one of the few and only pieces of tech, I think, where I've gone from absolutely hating on it to being completely enamored by it, which is what I am now. Now, previously, I did sort of touch on this in the past, but I literally tried to return this thing since I honestly just wasn't really vibing with it, and Mario Kart really wasn't my game, and I'll sort of talk about that. It turns out I do flippin' love Mario Kart, but I've sort of just grown to love this console as time has gone on. Now, that isn't to say the Switch 2 is perfect by any
It's
means,
not.
since
You're
it's
right.
definitely
You're right.
not, but I can say where I'm at specifically in my point of life right now, the system sort of ends up being more valuable to myself than it would typically be based off of just the spec sheet alone. Now, my exposure to the whole Switch lineup, I'm not new to it entirely, but I did.
And that's why I give you the whole 80s, like I said, teenagers now to then whatever. He's in his 30s, so that's what I'm saying. He's basically a 2000 kid. And that's all good. But I'm just stating how that situation rolls. It's you already don't know. You already heard me say it a million times. If you don't like the Switch, don't buy the Switch. I'm a Nintendo fan. You can call me a fanboy. I don't really care. Nintendo has done some stuff that I don't like, but I took my wallet, as I always say, speak with your wallet. I took my wallet and I buy what I like. As of 2026, all right, I have not bought and this is March. We're going into April. And there are games I want to get, but I have not bought not one game for the console. Not one. And there are games I want to get because I played the demo for Monster Hunter 3 because I love the stories. You know that I've told, and I like that. I like the stories itself. I'm trying to still get the stories for the original Switch, Monster Hunter Stories 1, the remake from, because I have the DS version, which I'm one of the few who love the DS version. Like, oh, this is a great game. I went off of that. So there's games I want to play. I want to play the Resident Evil as well too. And Pragmata looks like it's a game that I played a demo and I'm thinking I'm gonna buy that game too. So, but I have not bought a game because again, you gotta be. It's your money. You find out what you need to find. So and again, it's funny. And I'm gonna do a video about this. It's gonna be a long video. Funny now that the PlayStation is saying, "Oh, we might gotta go back to all exclusives because we're losing money." Who would have? Who would have thought of that? Wait. Who said that? That would be a stupid. Oh, yes, it was this guy. I said it a long time ago. That's a bad idea in PlayStation. I mean, it was. I think I went into more detail with the drive thing with that a-hole from the last the CEO for this. I forgot his name was, and I was like, dude, that's a stupid idea, and his idea was bad. And now PlayStation's like, yeah, we might be pivoting back to being exclusive. No shit. Duh. You get hiccups here and there, but Nintendo's proving that you don't need to go on other consoles to make your money. So why should you that? Leave Xbox by themselves. They're by themselves. They're whatever. PlayStation, do you. Let the PC people do what they do. Let the indies do what they do. Let Nintendo do what they do. Let PlayStation do what they do. And let Xbox do what they do. Let's have a different. Let's not all follow the same flipping thing and then giving. It's already done expensive. It's already done. These gaming companies, the majority of them are greedy. Again, funny how they're greedy, but they don't call Nintendo that. But whatever. Listen, Nintendo's a greedy one, but like the other consoles ain't greedy. Whatever. But let's not make it just begrudgingly boring. All right.
The Nintendo Switch 2, which I also didn't really get down with. I'd say probably for different reasons. So I can say going into the Switch 2, my expectations were already pretty low. Likewise, I can say I'm extremely fortunate because I have an insanely beast gaming PC. I've got the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Yet I find myself playing on my Nintendo Switch 2
more than
all of those combined at this time. Now, as for why this thing's just a little bit more special to me specifically, and it's kind of corny to be honest, but it's because I'm living that dad life now, if I'm completely honest, and I simply just don't have a lot of time to game. And where the Switch 2 has come in for me with my such limited time is that it's made gaming so much more accessible. And gaming really, truly is my absolute, bar none, favorite thing to do to decompress at the end of a long day.
Yep.
So the fact that I can sort of get a little bit more using the Switch 2 means a lot. Now, even more so, how it came a little bit more special to me over the last month was that I actually started traveling a little bit more. And I don't really travel usually, to be honest, but I was actually using this while I was on the go for the first time. And needless to say, it was sort of one of those moments where I was just like, okay, damn, I kind of actually get it now. In my scenario, I had the chance to start.
Yep, I use it for travel. I use it for when I went to Tennessee for family vacation with my wife's family. I used that, and the same thing was the Switch as well too. Hell, it was the Wii U. You guys saw it. You could, for those who are new to the channel, thank you for subscribing and keep on sharing. But I showed a video of me playing my Wii U on the airplane, with a tablet, didn't have no problem. So that's the precursor to the Switch. And I also played it at Miami International Airport. I was playing Mario Kart on my Wii U. And people are like, oh, yeah, I was playing that game and having fun. So whatever, I always was down with that. Don't get me wrong, the 3DS was good too. The 3DS was my console to do stuff, but you know, you were just like, I wanted to finish up Bayonetta 2 and I was there playing it on the plane, going home. Traveling 30,000 miles in the air, and with the Switch 2, it's the same thing. I mean, when I went down to meet friend of the show trip with Kyoso, bada bing bada boom. That's what it was. I was there playing it, having fun on the plane. Went to the hotel when it's time when my wife would just want to chill and she just relax. I just all right, and I'll just play a little game myself and whatever. So the Switch 2, 1 and 2 has been a traveling companion for me for the longest time.
Pokemon ZA at the airport, and I can say I was lucky enough to play that while traveling the entire time. And mind you, I had no idea that that game was as different as it was. I thought it was supposed to be what I guess Wind and Waves are, a traditional Pokemon game, but it's not. It's actually sort of a successor to Pokemon Arceus, and the gameplay was just surprising. I wasn't expecting that. Needless to say, though, that was a great time either way. And again, I sort of talked about how Mario Kart was straight up booty cheeks for myself. I just didn't enjoy it. But I actually love that game now, mainly because, again, it kind of sounds corny, but I play a lot of Switch games with my kids, and it's just something that has an irrational amount of value to myself. And again, maybe having 10 or 15 minutes here or there to actually play games, whether I'm in bed, walking on a flipping treadmill, whatever else, I actually can just dive into gaming whenever and wherever. And the weird thing is, so far the hardest part about owning this console is kind of just literally deciding what to play in the first place.
Yes.
I can say that is an incredible problem to have. Now, realistically, I could say there's not much I personally don't like about the system, but to sort of get one of the things out of the way, and that's definitely going to be the battery. The reason why I didn't originally sort of dive into the battery all too much is because my exposure to the Switch 2 was totally different. Again, I was primarily sitting here at home. If I'm vibing out at my desk, I prop it up and play for a bit. If I'm laying in bed or on the couch and I'm playing my Switch, whenever I be done, I can just plop it back on the dock and it's going to be topped up pretty much at all times. So I didn't really see how the battery actually performed, I should say. But man, when I'm on the road playing Cyberpunk or Hogwarts Legacy, that battery absolutely gets chunked, I could say. So whereas before I didn't really have to think about the battery at all, I almost have to be conscious of the battery when using this system. And that's just something that was a bit surprising, actually. Either way, when it comes to charging, at least one of the benefits, apart from the dock, of course, is that there are two Type-C ports. I do appreciate there's one on the top and the bottom. Everybody plays a little bit different, whether it's on their lap or up right in front of their face. So these two ports was great when it comes down to actually charging.
I'm willing to bet that your email looks something like this right now.
Plays a little bit different, whether it's on their lap or up right in front of their face. So these two ports was great when it comes down to actually charging it. Now, quickly, I do want to give a huge thanks to Anchor for sponsoring a portion of today's video. I did spend last week traveling for some YouTube events, and I've been using their newest flagship lineup.
I can't say that I'll let a commercial play because I do use Anchor a lot too, and it does work. So shout out to Anchor for real too, because I've used some of their products for I have one of their, I used it last year when I went down to Curacao, and I used it to charge my Switch and my phone and everything. So it's, shout out to Anchor.
While on the go, the Anchor Prime series. This is easily their most advanced fast charging gear yet, and it really does help keep bulk down while traveling, especially compared to a traditional massive charging brick. The first thing's got to be the Anchor Prime Power Bank, which has a wild industry-leading 300-watt multi-port output. A single one of these USB-C ports can deliver a massive 140 watts fast charging, meaning I can charge both my M5 MacBook Pro alongside my iPad at the same time, or even two MacBooks without worrying about any sort of charging slowdowns. Even compared to the already beastly last gen as well, this is 17% smaller, making it perfect for travel, and luckily it is also TSA approved, so there's no gate or onboarding anxieties. Using dual port fast recharging with the two USB-C ports, you can actually recharge this in up to 50% in as fast as 13 minutes, so even if time is tight, you're still covered for any sort of power. It also features a smart display, so you can monitor real-time wattages and charging info at a glance. Now, whether I'm indoors or traveling, the Prime 160 charger covers everything I need in this case as well. It is the world's most compact 160 watt multi-port charger. It does deliver 160 watts max total output, and a single USB-C port can deliver up to 140 watts. Thanks to Anker's Power IQ 5.0 for intelligent dynamic power distribution, this charger delivers the same efficiency as 3 separate original Apple chargers, but in a travel-friendly design, nearly the same size as a pair of earbuds. This also includes that smart display where you can gently tap the button to switch between multiple interfaces like your total output, a detailed per port output, your temperature, and of course the charging mode. Pair the charger with the power bank and you've got a complete portable fast charging setup. Be sure to check the link down below to learn more. Actually, of course, it's going to flip in game, but it's how many games there are available specifically for the Switch 2. If we're thinking about something like the PlayStation 5, there was remake after remake after remake, which is fine. I played some of those remakes on my PlayStation 5 and stuff, but it took them forever to sort of launch these console-specific games for the PS5 or even the Series X and all that. And I find it's been less than a year, and there's actually a good amount of native Switch and Nintendo games.
Funny because now there's a bunch of videos now. Again, I hate that everybody follows the same trend. A bunch of videos, people like, oh, Nintendo now they don't have enough. They give some games, but they always get an update or whatever. I mean, wait. Even when it first came out, y'all like, oh man, I wish I could play my game updated. And now they did the whole handheld improve mode. You know, people liking it, but then you got people still bitching. Shocked by no one. Oh, that's all Nintendo's doing is just doing updates now. They ain't putting out no new games. Compared to what? They've showed you new games already. Compared to what? How, as I said before, are they games as much as the first Switch? No. And here's the funny part. That's you gotta compare the Switch 2 first year output to the Switch year first year output. The next console after that will be the Wii U. Why? Because PlayStation, Xbox, they didn't have no, they have like 1 or 2 games at the most for the whole year for their own consoles. It's all been third parties. Nintendo's in-house doing that shit their own. So the conversation does not warrant it. Really doesn't.
Titles alongside some of these wild AAA ports. So the amount of games on the Switch 2 was just surprising. When it comes down to my experience in the past, again with the Switch OLED, I never really played much on there because really honestly the only game I really played on there was Pokemon Arceus. And again, that's probably maybe the reason I didn't like my Switch OLED all too much is because I was just playing those Pokemon games. But the Switch 2 is a whole different ballgame when it comes down to the games. Now, I'm still only a couple hours into Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is an incredibly fun game, mind you, which is probably an ongoing trend you're going to hear me say, is that a lot of these games are just fun. And those fun games still actually look really good, which is pretty awesome.
Exactly.
But then you still have the even more graphically
The magic word, fun. God forbid.
intense games like Cyberpunk that really honestly have no business looking as good as they are on a handheld, which, mind you, still performs even better when you put it into the dock. And it sort of surprised me that if the Switch 2 looks this good, I can't even imagine any of those PC handhelds I haven't used yet, like the ROG Ally or the flippin' Steam Deck that apparently is sold out still because of RAM and SSD shortages.
Yep.
If the Switch 2 looks this good, I can't imagine those. And I did briefly sort of talk about how I didn't really like Mario Kart from the get-go, but as I started playing that game a little bit more with my kids, I realized how much fun this game actually is.
Yeah.
Before I sort of just played Mario Kart by myself, which funny enough, again, I sort of like it now. But yeah, I hated it on launch, and what sort of was the catalyst to making me sort of been like, oh shit, this thing's actually pretty good, was when my wife bought me Cyberpunk 2077. And once I sort of booted that up, I was just like, damn, this thing is actually pretty sick. And when I spoke about this console in my original review, I sort of asked you guys for recommendations on what games I should really play. And the amount of times you guys told me to play Breath of the Wild, I still haven't, by the way, because I already have a backlog to get through. But is that really flipping good? Like, you guys really said play Breath of the Wild. I've never even played a Zelda game. Don't come at me. Even on the N64, I never touched it. I'll get there. Thank you guys for the recommendations. The 400 of them, I'll get there. Regardless, though, I can say I'm beyond impressed with how well the Switch 2 has performed overall. It could be optimization. It could be the actual hardwares. It could be the games, whatever. I just wasn't really expecting this. And my only issue, again, so far, is just choosing which game to play in the first place. The cool thing as well is that I only recently just sort of rediscovered Fortnite, and I was able to play that while on the go on the Switch 2. I can see why it's so flippin' addictive.
That's another one, Fortnite. It's Epic Games started laying out because Fortnite is losing its thunder. Thank goodness. Now, I don't want people to lose their jobs. One, I don't want the game, whatever, but well, everybody's hype about a game, and you can play what you want to play, enjoy it. I'm not knocking you for liking what you like, but it's basically, again, a costume grab game, and I just never liked that style of game of paying for this season, that season. I already did a video of why I don't like seasons. I'm gonna do a video about why I don't like roguelike now, because roguelike is also becoming a word I hate. It's annoying the hell out of me. I'm like, oh, that's a good concept. It's a roguelike. Fuck. Really? Great concept is a roguelike? That game that's on, I forgot the name of it, and the demo's out. I don't know the name of it right now. It's a hack and slash and stuff like that with guilty, not Guilty Gear. Damn it, what's the name? With Ragnar and them. I forgot the fighting game. Cause it's not Guilty Gear. It is. But Ragnar is the main protagonist of it, and I forgot. Like I said, I forgot it right now. But that being a hack and slash, I love that game. Play it. It's good. I like it. But it's like, it's a roguelike. Damn it. Why? Just make it like it's a good game. And that literally, I do. Because the price of the physical, I'm like, you know what? I'll just play the demo. I'm good. I'm not gonna buy the game. I was gonna buy the game, physical guy, developers, but because it's roguelike and it's just like I gotta go all the way to the back again and just string this thing all the way through to get. No, I'm not doing that shit. There's only one game that makes me feel like that I would do that, and that's Icy. And because of what Icy did, and funny enough, Icy is one of the fighters in the game, so that's why I might get it digitally just for that. But unless the physical is like super cheap. But yeah, roguelites are now become annoying to me.
Thing for these 10-year-olds, that game is actually a good time. But that game actually ran incredibly on the Switch, and I was even able to dunk on these 8-year-olds while I was at the airport, and it felt like this game was running at like 100 plus FPS. I'm not sure exactly what the frames per second were on there, but it performed incredibly well. Again, a sort of another surprising thing for me in that case. Where the Switch 2 would typically be my little console for just my offline games, it's actually performing well for these online games like Fortnite, and even Overwatch I think is coming out with a Switch 2 updated version in the next 2 months. And if anybody knows, Overwatch is my jam. I used to be top 500 North America, so to try and play Overwatch on here, I'm really stoked to give that a go. And again, that sort of leans into just the availability of games on here. You have your fun offline games, and then you have all these amazing online games, which I'm looking forward to trying out. As for the build and design of the system though, I actually dig it quite a bit, although I can say there is a little bit of give to the Joy-Cons when they are attached to the system. If I recall, I read something that give is there for a reason. I can't remember. But overall, they did do a pretty good job here, and I do dig the matte black design across the entire body, especially with the sort of Joy-Con accents on here. The only thing I'm missing with my, physical experience with this console is a Pro Controller, which 1,000 people told me to buy one of those as well. I haven't quite gotten there, but it is on my radar still. But when it comes down to the actual Joy-Cons themselves, I can say I actually love them a lot more than the original Switch OLED that I had, mainly because they're a hell of a lot bigger. For myself, I got these meaty mittens here, so having the larger Joy-Cons to hold on to is something that I've just sort of grown to appreciate. The only thing that I don't like with the Joy-Cons, I like the Joy-Cons themselves, but man, the sticks on there are loose and flappy. I don't even know how to describe them. They're just, the joysticks themselves are not good. I would have loved to see some sort of Hall effect or something on these Joy-Cons, but they still feel toyish and that they could break at any moment, which is probably my biggest gripe on this entire system. Okay. Specifically outside of the Joy-Cons and the sticks themselves, I can say this system as a whole feels very well built, and I didn't even sort of carry with a case. I just sort of plopped it in my backpack while traveling, and it turned out okay. And as I've said, since I am a tired-ass dad with such limited time, I have to say one of my favorite things is the fact that I can just split these Joy-Cons off the holder and do something like walking, as simple and as niche as that is, because it allows me to sort of keep a natural balance and cadence with my hands while walking on a pad, and I can still game, of course, which overall is pretty awesome. Just stacking those habits for how I get it done. Also, I can say they actually did a pretty good job with the built-in speakers on this console. Before all too much until I started traveling with the Switch, so I've just sort of grown to appreciate it. I can say as well, even in incredibly bright environments, the screen actually did pretty damn well, and I didn't really feel the need to have more brightness. And again, coming down to some of those games like Fortnite, I really do dig that higher refresh rate. It came in clutch while gaming. And while I'm not entirely sure which games support HDR and stuff, it is on by default, I think, in the settings. And I can say, honestly, most of the games I played simply looked beautiful. And then there will be the games like Cyberpunk or Hogwarts Legacy where you know they have HDR support, and these really do lean into that HDR aspect, and it does look flippin' awesome. So they did a good job here with the HDR optimization. And one of the things I love too is that they just let you pair Bluetooth stuff on here. It's a simple thing that you would think every gaming console handheld would do, but like my PlayStation Portal only lets me use a native pair of Pulse earbuds from PlayStation themselves, but I'm just happy the Switch let me either use my AirPods. I was using some Pixel Buds while traveling, as well as my Nothing headphones. They worked really well. So something as simple as Bluetooth, just awesome. Now those are my sort of basic thoughts about the console, but I want to talk more specific to myself, things I love, the things I hate about it. And one of the things that is a no-brainer for most people, frankly, but it's the fact that it's flippin' portable. I can literally take this thing with me almost anywhere and everywhere and still get a few minutes of gaming, whether that's, a short session, a long session. It doesn't matter. I just love that, since this is one of the best handheld experiences I ever had, even though I haven't really had a chance to play those handheld PCs yet. It is a damn good overall experience. Likewise, to sort of go a little bit further beyond that, is all the different ways you can actually play this thing. Like, I can hold this thing in my hand like any other person would. I could be vibing out on the couch or in my bed, or even if I'm just doing some sort of work or researching or just watching something at my desk, whatever. I can just prop this thing up on my desk and still play completely, and I just love that. And separately from that, of course, at any point I can just plop it into my dock. I can play on my TV, I can play on my monitor, I can play on a projector, and at a moment's notice, I can just pluck it out of the dock and away I go, which is absolutely bonkers. And the crazy thing is that all at the same time is I don't need all of that. I don't need the projector, the monitor, the TV. The whole package right out of box is just still plug and play. Like, I can play this thing handheld and have an uncompromising experience. And I've sort of talked about this when it comes down to consoles in general, not just the Switch. It's why I've been using consoles more recently versus my gaming PC. But it's just because you can have this thing in your desk setup and you really get your own space, your own solace. You can just vibe out and sort of deep dive into whatever game you want to play. And then, of course, there's a scenario where you can take that same console, in this case the Switch 2, I can put it on the dock in my living room or projector, and suddenly I'm playing with all my friends and family in the same room, and you have this awesome experience.
Not me, but I got it. I understand.
People would actually get together and play in the same room. Flippin' love that. That's all the good stuff, though. What about the bad stuff I mentioned? And of course, I already mentioned the battery. Not good. I can say it just gets chunked depending on the game I'm playing. And those joy sticks on the Joy-Cons. Joy-Cons are great. The sticks are straight ass. Those need to be fixed. That might be a me thing. I could probably just pick up a Pro Controller, but now I gotta buy a Pro Controller, right? But some of the newer things I don't like about this is just the overall expense of this system. Relative to other consoles and PC parts and whatever, I'm not gonna get into that all too much. It is relatively affordable, but once you start looking at, the subscription services, the cost of the games, the cost of the controllers, the cost of the dock.
Subscription services? What are you talking about? The subscription is cheap compared to all the others. Again, if you look at it for PC, I get what you're saying, but it's still cheap. You go to PlayStation or Xbox, the subscription service is simple. If you buy yourself, it's $30 for the whole year. You get everything. That's the prime. That's the top of the top. If you just want a regular one without all that stuff and just want to play games with other people, whatever, then it's just $20. And again, you don't have to get a subscription to play nothing, that makes sense to me.
All that's pretty flippin' expensive, man, and I still haven't bought a second dock for my living room just because it's so bloody expensive. Now, talking about the expense of the games, this is where it's either going to be rationalization or me coping, but the games are flippin' expensive. The way I look at it, though, is I can spend $30-$40 to go see a movie in the theaters. Maybe the movie's 2 hours long, so it's like $15-$20 an hour worth of entertainment. My coping strategy is that if I buy a $90 game, $90 Canadian, that is going to give me way more than 2 hours of entertainment, probably in the dozens or hundreds, depending on the game, really. And I'd say that's pretty well worth it. Yeah, the games are getting more expensive, especially when you look at the online services, the games themselves, the consoles, everything in between is just getting more expensive. But so far, I find gaming is still one of the more affordable hobbies.
It is.
That's going to depend on who you are, of course.
It is.
But yeah, call it coping or rationalization, whatever. The next thing that
Brain HQ is a brain.
Depend on who you are, of course. But yeah, call it coping or rationalization, whatever. The next thing that I don't like about the Switch, and I sort of talked about this briefly in my original review, is that it doesn't really do anything outside of gaming. Now, this is a double-edged sword because I love using consoles for the simplicity. I love that they just game, or maybe they'll just do music and video on the screen. I like the consoles because I'm not alt-tabbing, I'm not checking emails, I'm not doing all this other crap. I just watch my show, watch my movie, play my game on the console. But the Switch 2 doesn't have any of those other apps that I would want, like YouTube or Netflix. I would just love to see that. Maybe we'll see it in an update.
Maybe you see, I don't
just
care
imagine myself vibing out on my bed with
it.
the Switch 2 and watching some stuff. It would be pretty awesome. But yeah, honestly, before I ramble on too much, as somebody with very little time who still has an absolute passion for gaming, I'm just really enamored and enjoying this console. I can say I've also sort of developed as a tech head, as a gamer, as a person in general, and I'm not really chasing specs anymore as I once have. I have my beast-ass PC that does 4K at 240 hertz with all the frames, with ultra settings, high settings, whatever the case is.
So do I have that.
I find myself gravitating to playing my Switch 2 more than those systems. This thing is worse than my PS5. It's worse than my Xbox. Yet the allure of its accessibility, of the fun ass games, and the overall experience just has me playing this thing more than all those systems. And how corny is it that I can say that it's almost magical to be able to sit down and play Mario Kart or Donkey Kong or really any of the Pokemon games with my kids, and at the same time those games are fun for both them as well as myself, which is awesome. And whenever I do want to absolutely clap these 8-year-olds in Fortnite, I can still do that too and get my competitive fix for.
Look, yeah, and I get what you're saying, and I did reaction to your video that you had before when you talk about that. I'm just saying, I like a console to be a console. I don't need it to be a multi-device. The whole thing, the whole saying of if you're gonna do one thing good, do one thing the best as you can. And Nintendo had a problem too that with the Wii U. They try to do, and I understand that, but yeah. Stick to what you do best. Making games, games, family-friendly fun, all that. That's what you guys should be doing. And that's what I like. So, again, just doing a video. I understand where he's coming from. And I'm not grappling against him like I would do other people. Because, again, he likes it for what he likes it for. And that's the same thing with any console. You like what you like. And you ain't got to cop out of he's saying or reason or whatever. It just makes logical sense to you. Buy it. If you think the Switch 2 is overpriced and all that stuff like you think, and follow the Switch haters on YouTube and do that, do you. It's your money, right? Do what you got to do. It doesn't bother. No, it shouldn't bother nobody. The one thing that bothers people, and it bothers me too, is when I hear people keep on bitching and moaning and bitching for all the time. I'm talking about, yo, you don't like it? Why you buying it? Why you keep on still saying the same damn thing? Try something different then. It's not that hard to do, bro. But anyway, this is old school style love of gaming. That's all it is. Just love the game, have fun, and enjoy it. I mean, hell, I got PlayStation 5. I got PlayStation Portal. And I don't think I've touched my Portal for the whole of this year. To be honest. No, until February. Because again, the thing that happened to me in my life changed a lot of stuff around. So I didn't miss with it from February. But yeah, I use the Portal and I'm enjoying that. And to be honest with you right now they got some games coming from the PlayStation to the Switch. Would I get it and get a game key card, stuff like that? I'm guessing. I gotta still see. But I'm not in a rush to buy it because I got a game on PlayStation. So on the PlayStation, is a key card as well, too, so it made no difference. It's different, yes, install all the game, I know, blah, 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 I know. But still, I'll go with that. But that said, I'll catch you all next time. Remember, there's no perfect games out there. It's perfect to you, not perfect to me. What's perfect to me is not perfect to you. Simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC. Peace out.